This happened during my senior year of high school. My name is Sarah, and I've known my best friend Hannah since childhood. We practically grew up together. One day my parents mentioned they would be going out for the night and wouldn't return until the next day. Naturally, I seized the opportunity to have Hannah over for a sleepover. We were both thrilled at the prospect of a memorable night, just the two of us. After class that day, we headed to my place, ready to dive into an evening of fun. Our time was filled with laughter as we shared stories, watched movies, and made jokes. Before we knew it, it was already dark. We were hungry and needed to eat, so we decided to get some fried chicken from my local chicken shop where I was a regular. I could hardly wait. The very thought tantalized my taste buds. I opened the door and felt something being dragged and pushed out of the way by the door. I looked at the floor and saw a package, plain and unremarkable, yet oddly out of place. It was strange because a package would normally have a label saying where it is from and who it is addressed to. But there was no label, nothing. Just a plain cardboard box with something inside. I didn't order anything online recently, but I didn't think much of it. I thought maybe my mom had ordered something. So I just put it in my apartment by the shoe rack and left. My friend Hannah admitted it was a bit strange and had a quick glimpse at it, but quickly dismissed it. We were so excited to get the chicken and have an unforgettable dinner. At our local chicken shop, we grabbed our usual order. It's funny how the smell of fried chicken can make you forget everything else, even just for a moment. We were typical teenagers, giddy with excitement over our feast, eagerly anticipating the night ahead. We went home and tried to take the elevator. I never took the stairs because I lived on the 10th floor, but we noticed the elevator was on the 18th floor and it stayed there. Didn't move at all for 5 minutes. Eventually, we got sick of waiting, and since we didn't want our chicken to get cold, we just took the stairs this time. It's a good workout after all, right? As we climbed the stairs, chatting and laughing, something weird happened when we reached the 6th floor. We heard this odd noise from above us. It sounded like something had fallen, or maybe someone had banged on the railing. I remember looking up, straining my eyes in the darkness, trying to see if there was someone there. But it was so dark I couldn't make out anything. Probably just some kids messing around, I thought, trying not to let it creep me out. So we just kept going, not wanting to let some weird noise ruin our night. We finally made it to my floor, out of breath but still excited about our chicken. That's when we noticed something else odd. The package I'd left inside earlier was now outside our door. "Didn't I put this inside?" I said, feeling a chill run down my spine. Hannah looked at me, her expression a mix of confusion and concern. We both glanced at the package, then at each other. Something wasn't right, but trying to shake off the uneasiness, we stepped inside, and the package I put inside my home was still there, where I had put it. So the package outside was a new package, supposedly for my family. A shiver of unease crawling up my spine. I peered down the hallway, half expecting to see a lurking figure, but there was nothing. Just the eerie silence of the late hour. Hesitantly, I left both boxes outside. We ate, watched movies, and talked about everything under the sun. It was the kind of night that made you forget about the world outside. But as the clock struck 12 and we were getting ready for bed, a sudden knock at the door jolted us back to reality. "Could your mom and dad be back already?" Hannah asked, a hint of worry in her voice. "No, they're gone for the night," I replied, feeling a knot of apprehension in my stomach. Yet, curiosity got the better of us, and Hannah tiptoed to the door to peer through the peephole. Her face turned pale. "I can't see anything. It's pitch black out there." The sensor lights should have been on if someone was outside. Confused and a little scared, we decided the best course of action was to go to bed and forget about it. But no sooner had we turned away from the door than another knock, loud and insistent, echoed through the apartment. This time a frail, trembling female voice accompanied the knocks. "Help me." The voice was faint, barely more than a whisper, as if coming from someone injured or in distress. "Please help me." It continued, each word punctuated by hiccups and labored breaths. The terror was real now. "Who's there?" Hannah called out, her voice quivering with fear. We thought someone might have been attacked. The voice continued to beg for help. Hannah's instinct was to help, but I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was terribly wrong. "We should call the police," I insisted, my hand gripping the phone tightly. I called the police and told them what was happening while Hannah was frightened. Then we told the person outside that we called the police and that everything will be okay. Then suddenly the voices stopped. Dead silent. "Maybe they're dead," Hannah whispered, her eyes wide with horror. "Shouldn't we check?" "No, we can't risk it," I said firmly, my mind racing. Hannah tried to open the door, but I stopped her, grabbing her wrist firmly. "Think about it. If someone was really stabbed, how did they make it all the way here without setting off the sensor lights? And why couldn't we hear anything?" Before we could ponder further, the knocks returned, this time louder, more frantic and rhythmic, like a demented drummer beating out a tune. We collapsed to the floor, too frightened to even scream. My mind was racing and about to explode. The police arrived shortly after, their sirens cutting through the night stillness. The knock stopped and we heard someone running up the stairs. The police got to our apartment and we told them that someone just ran up the stairs. While they quickly went to pursue the person, we waited in a state of heightened anxiety, barely able to process the night's surreal events. Soon enough, the police returned, escorting a figure that sent a shockwave of disbelief through us. It was a man, well over 6 feet tall, extremely pale and thin, and shoulder-length hair that gave him an almost ghostly appearance. As he was led past our apartment, we couldn't help but stare in confusion. "That's not right," Hannah muttered to me. "We heard a woman's voice, not a man's." It was then that he turned his head sharply towards us, his eyes gleaming with an unsettling madness. In an uncanny imitation of a woman's voice, he taunted, "Help me." The voice was identical to the one that had pleaded through our door. Laughter followed, a sound so devoid of sanity that it sent shivers down our spine. In that moment, everything clicked. The man had been the one outside our door, deceiving us with his ability to mimic a female's voice. The police informed us of his chilling background. He was an escaped patient from a mental asylum. A few days ago, he had snapped and stabbed someone, caused serious property damage, and escaped. My apartment just happened to be close by, and he just happened to end up at my apartment. Talk about bad luck, it turned an ordinary night into a nightmare. As we gave our statements, one of the officers mentioned something that the man wanted to desperately ask us. "Did you enjoy the nursery rhyme?" Hannah and I exchanged puzzled glances until the realization hit us. The rhythmic knocking, it was the tune of a nursery rhyme, a sick game played by the man's twisted mind. The man was sent away to another mental asylum far away from my apartment. We later learned that this was part of his larger, more disturbing scheme. The man had been placing boxes outside various units, watching to see who would bring them inside. He was selecting his target, and that night, it could have been us. The thought alone was enough to leave us reeling in horror. This man, who had escaped from a mental asylum with a history of violence, had singled us out as his potential victims. In retrospect, the evening's oddities began to unravel a more sinister plot. The elevator, which we found stubbornly stuck on the 18th floor, was no coincidence. It was a deliberate trap set by the man. He had orchestrated it to keep the elevator out of reach, positioning himself strategically on the 18th floor. The noises we heard on the 6th floor, they were his doing. While we were unable to see anything in the pitch darkness, he had clear sight of us. He was observing us all along, choosing his moment, orchestrating his twisted game from the shadows. The realization that he had been so close, yet unseen, watching our every move, sent a new wave of chills through us. The reason Hannah couldn't see anything through the peephole still gives me shivers to this day. It's not that nobody was there. The man was looking through the peephole as well. His eye was pretty much glued to the peephole, so the only thing Hannah could see was his dark, soulless eyes. Even I shiver at this thought. I can't imagine how traumatizing it would have been for Hannah. The implications of what might have happened had we opened the door haunted us. It was a chilling reminder that monsters didn't just exist in stories. They could be lurking right outside, shrouded in deception and madness. In the days that followed, the echoes of that night lingered with us. The man was relocated to another mental facility, this time far from our neighborhood. But the memory of his taunting voice, the mimicry of a plea for help, and the realization of his violent past remained with us. Lying in bed, I often thought about the what-ifs. What if we'd opened the door? What if we hadn't trusted our instincts? We were lucky, but the experience left a permanent mark on us. This story isn't just a recounting of a terrifying encounter, it's a warning. Always trust your instincts and be cautious of the unknown that waits beyond your door. In this world, not all cries for help are genuine and not all doors are meant to be opened. Sometimes, the safest choice is to keep the door closed and listen to the voice of caution whispering in your ear.